I will call the Paulding County Board of Commissioners, good morning, Ron, October 23rd work session to order, and thank you all for being here. Invited guests and elected officials, we have Sheriff Gulledge and Judge Dean Bucci. It's a privilege to have Pastor Gene Morehouse here. He'll be coming up to give her invocation in a second. And Brian, if you bring forward the list of folks wishing to speak. If you have a phone that might be turned on, please turn it off. I'll do the same. If you're able to stand, Pastor Morehouse will lead us in invocation of prayer.
Let's go to the Lord in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, as we look around, we see all these different signs that have popped up over the election. We ask, Lord, that you watch over those who are running, help them to be truthful. And as we watch the airwaves, we see maybe truths, half-truths, and lies. May we separate them, and may we realize, Father, that you are the Creator, that you love us, you care about us, and you want to strengthen each and every one of us. Help us to live a path that would be pleasing to you. Help the commissioners and their attorney up here to be men and women of Christian faith, that they love the Lord, and serve our communities well. We thank you, Lord, for your love, your compassion, and the gift of your Son. In the name of your Son, Jesus, all God's people said. Amen. Let's pledge to the flag. Ready? Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated, and I'd like to make one quick announcement.
Yes, sir.
I can't stay because over at Greenbrook, I have Bible study. We're in Revelation, the 19th chapter. That's every Tuesday. So this meeting is only once a month, right?
Twice.
So I can see you all there next week in Greenbrook. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Pastor Morehouse, with Westside Christian Church. Thanks so much for being here. The October 9th, 2018 work session minutes and the October 9th, 2018 board meeting minutes are available for review. Under the positive Paulding segment, my favorite, we have a special announcement that took place out at the airport Friday before last. Let's watch that together. We are thrilled and we are excited and we are honored to have Governor Field here. He has done so much for Georgia over his 8 years.
Thank you for taking time to be with us here today. What a beautiful airport facility you have. What a gorgeous room this is. I usually go to smaller airports and we get in an oversized room closet. You have a tremendous facility here and I compliment you on that. This is a team effort. And what we're talking about doing today is one that I believe will benefit not just your immediate area, but will benefit the state of Georgia as a whole. And that is, we're announcing today that we're going to create an aviation academy right here at Silver Comet Field. This will be approximately a $35 million capital investment. It will be another example of the partnership between the state and local level officials, and it will certainly be something that all of us will see the benefits of in the next several years. I want to thank Commissioner Carmichael and the members of the Paulding Commission for donating the land that will be needed to house this academy. Now, why an aviation academy? Well, the truth of the matter is because we need it. We are fortunate that Georgia has and is the home of Delta Airlines, Gulfstream, Pratt & Whitney, and a number of others that are related to the activities of airlines and aircraft industry, both public and private types of aircraft. And they have been very successful in our state, and they're all continuing to grow. You're going to have a lot of young people who look at this as a real opportunity, and I am pleased that it's going to be happening right here in your community. Thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. The Board of Commissioners would like to present the literacy proclamation to Pastor Mike Faulkner, and as Mike comes up, I'm going to read it, and then Mike, you can say whatever words you'd like to at the podium. In connection with National Family Literacy Day, the Paulding County Board of Commissioners has signed the following proclamation. Whereas November 1st is recognized as National Family Literacy Day, and whereas the County of Paulding desires to improve the literacy levels of its citizens, and whereas the level of adult literacy skills contributes to the emotional, physical, and economic well-being of our citizens, and whereas the Paulding Literacy Council, in conjunction with the Certified Literate Community Program, Paulding County Library System, and the Adult Education Program will assist greatly in increasing adult literacy skills of the citizens and thereby increase community productivity. Therefore, the Paulding County Board of Commissioners and I, as the chairman, do hereby proclaim the day November 1st, 2018 as Family Literacy Day in the Paulding County, Georgia, and endorse Paulding Literacy Council, the Paulding Library System, the Adult Education Program, and support the participation of the citizens of Paulding County in these programs. Mike, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit more.
Thank you, sir. It's an unfortunate statement for our community that 8% of the people in Paulding County are functionally illiterate. That represents about 20,000 people, which is a sad thing. It's not anything to do with the county itself. It's just a reality of people, where people find themselves. And our desire with the Paulding County Literacy Council is to aid those people in improving their reading skills. We have right now 12 adults working with 12 individuals who need that assistance. We have many more volunteers who would be willing to work with people in a public place to help them either learn to read or improve their reading skills. In addition to the literacy efforts that we put forth in the county, we also seek to partner with the GED program to help people obtain their GED so that they might function better in the community for themselves and their families and our community as a whole. And I appreciate the commissioners supporting this. If I could just mention too, we would encourage people to read on November 1st. We have an email address, rapaulding@gmail.com, which you can report minutes or hours that you read that day to us, and we're going to compile that and report through the local newspaper and our Facebook page the number of people and the amount of time that they invest in reading. We're also sponsoring an event on November the 8th in partnership with Abbey Elementary School at the Crossroads Library and the Dallas Public Library, inviting families to come and bring their children to join in a reading program there. We've got volunteers that are going to read to kids and encourage them to participate in some reading games that we have. So that'll be from 6 to 7 at night. Thank you very much for your support, and I appreciate your help in raising the awareness of this in our county.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. You come up.
Thanks, sir.
We want to take a picture here. Okay. The Board of Commissioners would like to congratulate the Paulding Judicial Circuit Drug Court Program Deputy Clint Barker with winning the Star Award, and Judge Dean Bucci is going to present this award.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning, Skipper. Actually, Clint has already received the award, and Clint, will you come on up with me? We are governed by a council of accountability court judges, and every year there's a conference in Athens. And at this year's conference, they presented a star award. The way it works is for each accountability court, and there's well over 100 accountability court programs in the state, there are certain members of the team. There's one surveillance officer, we've now grown to have 2, but they only give this award to one position for all the accountability court programs in the state. So only one surveillance officer across the state received a star award, and that was Paulding County's very own Clint Barker, that we're really proud of. We've invited some of our participants to be here this morning. I know we've got at least one graduate, and is there any participant that had anything to say to Clint or about Clint? I'm going to call on Chris if no one volunteers. Where's Chris at? There he is. All right, well, you're a graduate, so I'll volunteer you. Stand up.
I mean, he single-handedly helped me turn my life around. He would come to my house and talk to me for hours, and it never was.
Come on up, Chris. Why don't you come on up here and use the microphone. So start over. I appreciate it. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Right. Well, I mean, he would come to my house and talk to me for hours. I was having a really hard time when I first came in the program, failing drug test, and it never was, you ain't gonna be able to do it, we're gonna send you to prison. It was always, you're better than this. And 2 years later, I just graduated, and with his help, I was able to do that. Thank you.
I would just like to thank the sheriff, the judge, for allowing me to do this job. Without them allowing me to do it, I wouldn't be able to go spend time on the porches and at the kitchen tables talking with our participants. I'm much more comfortable doing that than this today. I'd rather be at their homes, helping them get through their struggles daily and getting the result that we got with Chris.
Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you.
Let's just take a quick second, and anybody in the program, if y'all stand, just to thank you for taking that step. Thank you very much.
I mean, it's obvious that this program is making a big difference here in the county. I just want to say thank you once again.
Thank you, and we couldn't do it if y'all didn't let us do it, so thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say the last couple of years, I had an opportunity to meet Chris out in the community, working on cars. And Chris has shared a lot of his stories with me and just shared a lot of things that's going on. And a lot about Judge Dean Bucci. And we just had some good conversations. And all of you that are in it, there may have been an award that was given today, but you guys are the ones that need the award for stepping up and getting in it, Chris staying in it, and getting through the process. Because I know at the end of the day, there's a lot of rewards that come to you when it comes to getting good friendships and family and good quality of life. So, Chris, I hold you in high regard.
Thank you.
And those of you that are in the program, Thanks for being in it. I know we gave an award today. Thank you for what you're doing. But thanks to y'all that are sticking in the program and your friends that gather around you to help you get through this process. May God continue to bless you.
Thanks, Commissioner Pownell. Paulding County Board of Commissioners would like to recognize Erica Wilson for her work as Secretary of Paulding County GUCC. And Ms. Lori Ashmore, the Director of the Water Department, is going to help make this presentation.
Okay, Erica. Gotta come up in front and center. Erica's one of our behind-the-scenes folks normally, so little uncomfortable there, but let me just take a second and tell you about the GUCC. It's actually an extension of the Utility Location and Coordination Council of the American Public Works Association. The members include utilities such as ours, contractors, the telephone company, power, the cable company, anybody who's working in that right-of-way on utilities. And Michael Creighton, the president of our local GUCC, was supposed to be here this morning, but he's had a family emergency, so I am going to share some of the comments that he was prepared to share with you this morning. Every year, the GUCC recognizes one person serving in each of the leadership roles in each of the regions of the state. We're in Region 6. In Region 6 is Bartow, Cherokee, Floyd, Gilmer, Northwest Georgia, Paulding, Pickens, and West Georgia. And Michael shared with me the pride that he has to be chair for the last 8 years. And Erica has been secretary for each of those 8 years with him. He said that he believes that the Paulding UCC is a huge success and benefit to all utilities that work in our county. With that being said, it would not be possible without the efforts that Erica makes in preparing for each meeting. Erica assures that we have a sponsor for the meeting, and she works with that sponsor to have the meals planned and ready. She keeps our email contacts up to date and sends out our meeting agenda and the reminders for each monthly meeting. Erica frequently makes new contacts, inviting people to attend that would benefit from the shared information that we discuss. Erica also works to have a speaker lined up for a short presentation at each meeting and maintains a strong relationship with Paulding DOT, which proves beneficial to all. One of the GUCC Board of Directors also went on to say, Erica's attitude is always one of service with a smile. She assists the chairman, Michael Creighton, in making the meeting one of the best in the state. Her type of dedication to the local UCC is admired and very much appreciated by the GUCC board. So I wanted to take an opportunity to thank Erica and to recognize her as Secretary for Region 6.
It's a very handsome plaque here, as some of your teammates are coming up here. It says the Georgia Utilities Coordinating Council presents Secretary of the Year Award, Erica Wilson, Paulding County Water System, in appreciation of service on the Paulding County Utility Coordinating Committee.
Now you can't see that. No, I'm good. Awesome, thank you. Thank you.
Under invited guests, we have Mr. Don Benson, our Paulding County representative on the Department of Behavioral Health and Development Disabilities in our Region 1 Advisory Council. He's going to give us a few updates. Thank you for being here.
First and foremost, I feel honored to represent Paulding County on an advisory council for our Department of Behavioral Health. I have personal experience in that field for quite a number of years from a lived experience with my son. He's 35 years old and has been diagnosed with schizophrenia since the age of 19. And schizophrenia is one of the most devastating mental illnesses that I believe a person could ever have. And he has had a rough time with his illness. And until yesterday, he was incarcerated for the last 2 years, 10 months and 12 days of his life. The last portion of it since June 5th, solely because he was mentally ill. I volunteer my time to advocate for better mental health care and bring awareness of mental illness to reduce the stigma that's associated with it. There is a lot of misinterpretation, misunderstanding of what actually mental illness is. It is not a character flaw. Severe mental illnesses such as schizophrenia is definitely a circuitry and dysfunctional problem inside the human brain. We're all familiar with, I would say, dementia and Alzheimer's disease, which is a disease of the brain, and we quite readily accept that analogy that it is definitely an illness. I promote an understanding because I actually study the brain circuitry involved, particularly with psychosis, which may be called audio-verbal hallucinations. When you hear something, I have actually seen studies that they will take an individual and place them in a soundproof room that is susceptible to hearing voices and do a functional MRI of the brain, and take another individual that is hearing the voices just as you and I are if you're listening to me right now, and the same areas of the brain will light up. It's just they don't have the external stimulation to produce the sound in the brain, but yet they still hear. The sad part of it is the voices that they hear in the culture of the United States are never voices that did a good job or anything else like that. And these can be constant, where they are very demeaning, and it's very difficult for the individuals, such as my son, the medications that they have to take in order to combat the psychosis have severe side effects. And my son has been through every single crisis management center in North Georgia at one time or another. He's been in all of the state hospitals from Atlanta North at one time or another, and in also another state of Ohio. My son didn't ask to be mentally ill. It just happened. There's a genetic predisposition that you may acquire an illness such as his, but then there's also environmental triggers associated that may trigger it off. You can have two twins. One may develop the illness and one may not, but there's definitely an increased risk for that. And that's what I try to promote a better understanding. And I want to thank the council for commissioners for allowing me to represent the county in our Department of Behavioral Health. They're an organization that is supposed to provide services for those who are the least fortunate in society, that need services. And I'm just going to read a little bit about how Georgia's mental health care stacks up in the nation. Unmet need, Georgia ranks 18th. Nearly 1 in 5 adults with mental illness are unable to access treatment. Alabama ranks 10th. Uninsured adults, Georgia ranks 46th. 24% of adults with mental illness do not have health insurance. Virginia ranks 23rd. Untreated mental illnesses, Georgia ranks 46th. 61.6% of adults with mental illness receive no treatment. North Carolina ranks number 6. Overall access, Georgia ranks 47 in overall access to mental health care. Workforce capacity, Georgia ranks 48, meaning that only one mental health provider for every 850 residents. Georgia ranks 34th. I'm also going to add on to that statistic that there is one psychiatrist in our state for 9,600 individuals. I'm pretty sure that ranks at the bottom of the country. Cost. Georgia ranks last. 32% of Georgians with a disability do not see a doctor due to cost in 2017. Missouri ranks 29. Now, I'm going to give a statistic specifically because I primarily focus on the more serious mental illnesses such as schizophrenia. The average incident rate is 1% of our population is diagnosed with schizophrenia. That means 1 out of every 100 people will acquire this schizophrenia. So if I would take the population of Paulding County of 160,000 plus, that means we have 1,600 people living in this county with schizophrenia. How many of you here know an individual that has been diagnosed with schizophrenia? Raise your hand. Okay. I wonder where all the other ones are. It's probably because they're hid from society, because society rejects them. We don't know how to handle their psychosis. We think they're crazy. But they are actually human beings just as you and I. So what I am attempting to do in our Department of Behavioral Health, which I have met with David Ralston twice, and I understand, and I'm not knocking the department, but they do take care of those who are mentally ill, but they have difficulties with those who have a severe, persistent mental illness. For example, our state has been for 8 years now under the scrutiny of the Department of Justice in a civil suit with our Department of Behavioral Health for the ill care that was provided for those with developmental disabilities and those who were serious, persistently mentally ill. That's an SPMI, a common term used in that settlement. They declared that there was 9,000 individuals in the target population that were mentally ill that would be served discreetly in that settlement agreement. The majority of those end up homeless and acquire and need housing. They can't acquire the housing. There are supposed to be 9,000 beds. June the 5th last year, I was shocked when the court allowed my son to be placed in rehabilitation and found out through a list that I was handed with what was called an intensive treatment residential program for my son, that by count there was only 73 beds in our state available. And this is actually the list that I was handed. It's at that point in time that I found how disorganized and lack of leadership, as described by Mr. Ralston, that we had in our Department of Behavioral Health. And I'm taking it upon myself to volunteer my time to the best of my ability to assist in the state of providing better mental health care. I'm going to tell a short story, and the reason I ask for your support, as you will be seeing some letters in newspapers and stuff that I do to promote thoughtful care for individuals of a serious mental illness. My son, 2 years, 10 months, and 12 days ago, became homeless. I followed the advice of mental health professionals, and it was deemed that my son was too dependent on my structure for his existence. So he tried to make it on his own. He became homeless, he was emaciated, was off his medication. He had been seen by mental health professionals, but they did not capture his particular dilemma as they were supposed to. And I took him in and started to get him fed and was nurturing him back to his medication compliance. And he had a good day on a Monday, helped around the house, we sat down and had supper. He watched TV from 6:30 to 7 o'clock at night. He stood up and says, "Dad, love you, I'm going to bed." And I said, "I love you too, son." He went to bed, and I was actually in the middle of typing a letter to a state senator regarding the need for housing and better care for those who are mentally ill. And he came out of his bedroom pouring a soda can down the hallway. And I said, "Son, was there a bug in there?" Because I knew he had been in a psychotic episode and probably was hallucinating and having delusions. And I heard nothing back from him, so I turned around to acquire some paper towels and wiped up. And as I was turning around, my son came on a mission to attempt to kill me. And the reason I have such passion in this, and I need to tell this story so you understand the level of my understanding of this, that through that process of him profusely assaulting me, caught me totally off guard, my son would never, in his right mind, ever raise a finger to his dad. He loves me. It came to the point where I had the sensation I couldn't defend myself, that my right eye was falling out. And all I could do was stay calm to the best of my ability, curl up in a ball like you were getting attacked by a bear, and continually try to connect with my son by calmly saying, "Joseph, you need to stop. Joseph, you need to stop." And it was down to the point that when I heard ribs broke, that I didn't think I was going to survive. And I actually resigned myself to meet God, that this was the way I was going to die. I've not been a real religious person in my life, but I have to believe that at that point in time, there was a definite divine intervention. My son quit. Walked out of the house like nothing ever happened. He didn't have any recollection of that for 2 months until they showed him pictures of what he did. He was so upset with himself, he was placed on suicide watch for quite some time. So since then, that has been my purpose in life. I had a very successful career as a systems engineer in technology. I was one of the best respected engineers in the country working for IBM. I even worked on some of the predecessor to what is now IBM's flagship artificial intelligence called Watson. But this is a position that chose me. So I best understand from the ground up where my son fell through the cracks in this process, and can understand the processes and the services that are in place that need to change to help those individuals that suffer a severe mental illness. We had testimony in here from a group of people that have been through the drug courts. The difference in those individuals is that they are treating the recovery of their illness. Addiction is an illness. In the past, we've only treated the illness. Statistically, we have a DARE program. I'm sorry if I'm running over time, if you'd like me to wind down, I
We
will.
need to kind
But,
of, we need to kind of wind down.
okay, sorry. But anyway, some of the things I'm working on is legislation that is common sense, that helps us individuals who are the caretakers. Because ultimately, when they're done in the mental health care system, the people who are actually the maintainers of their recovery are their loved ones. We need to have things done so that we can better take care of them. One of the issues that I'm promoting and hoping to pass in legislation this year is a psychiatric advance directive. It's House Bill 607. You can look that up, and it is a simple thing. No different than if you become unhealthy, ill, go to a hospital, and you tell the hospital, these are the things that I want done in the event that I am incapable of making decisions for myself. This is no different, except for it's for specifically mental illness. And for some reason, we can't get the mental illness stuff recognized as well as a real illness. So that's one of the things that I'm actually doing. Another issue is, this is my last one I'll present, is power of attorneys. There is no place in any county in the state of Georgia that an individual will have a crisis and remain contained in that county. No county has a continuum of facilities that the individual will remain in one county. Therefore, you have power of attorney, and if there's something that needs to be handled in another county that he was sent to, you have to go through umpteen zillion different hoops to get that certified in that county to be recognized that you have power of attorney there. One of the things I hope that we can promote and enact in some form of legislation is standardization across the state that would help us individuals better take care of our loved ones. So I will wind this down and thank you for your time, and I look forward to representing a fine community in Paulding County and the issues of mental health.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Benson, and for representing Paulding County. Next, under invited guests, we're pleased to have Ms. Rita Norris, the CareLink Board of Directors Chair, to give us an update on CareLink in Paulding County. Some exciting things with that, Rita.
Thank you. When you go. Good morning. Many of you have heard me before. I'm Rita Norris. I'm the chairman of the board for CareLink of Northwest Georgia. Looking at the building right ahead of you is a fruition of a 4.5-year dream. For 4.5 years, Guy Skull, members of the board, have worked to bring a nonprofit 501c3 health clinic to Paulding County. 625 West Memorial that you're looking at right now is our new home. To advance this. Sorry. Just like. This is a sign that we're very proud of. We're opening November 6th. Now, we're going to open as a very limited clinic to begin with. We're going to start out with an afternoon on Tuesdays from 1 to 6, and we're going to be open from Saturdays from 8:30 to 12:30. We are looking to expand, but it's totally dependent upon volunteer help to help us. We are 100% volunteer driven, and because we're 100% volunteer driven, that means that our providers, nurses, NPs, PAs, administrative nurses, all are volunteers as well. And so as they step forward, as our clients step forward, we will be opening up expanded hours and more hours. But more importantly, what I'd like to offer is this, and that is this Sunday from 1 to 3, this coming Monday from 4 to 6. We're having a grand opening. It's a very soft grand opening. We promise to feed you. May not be your level 1 high dollar meal, but I haven't ever heard too many people decline pulled pork sandwiches. And since this is a campaign year, I'm sure there's been lots of pulled pork sandwiches sort of spread around the area. So we're not political, but we're medical, and we'd like to have you come. On Sunday, we're going to have a bouncy house. So if you're too old to get in there yourself, bring your grandkids, your children, and let them bounce, and you can tour the facility. But basically, I want to say thank you to the community. I want to say thank you for everyone who has stepped forward at this point in time to help us. We have had some wonderful companies that are beyond just the fact that we've shown up, that has said, you know, I'll use an example. I invited a painter friend of mine who has painted most of my community. And I wanted him to either give me a reduced price on paint so that we as volunteers could slop paint all over the darn place, or give me a quote to reduce the price that he would only charge. Now this man's an individual contributor. If he doesn't work, he doesn't eat. I have a 3,200 square foot building, and when he walked in, he says, Rita, he says, when you approached me 2 years ago, he said, I thought, yeah, right. And then he says, when you came back to me 2 years later and you're still working on the same thing, he says, you had to have something going on. He says, I'll paint your building for you. He says, you pay for the paint. He says, I'll paint your building for you. This man went without work for a week to paint our building. This is just one example of the largesse that we've seen in this county, and it's more to come. I know there are a whole lot of people out there that want to help us that just don't know about us yet. But let me tell you, since I'm a week and a half, 2 weeks out from opening, I could use any help that you all want to give me. And so, thank you. I told you I would not come back until I had something to tell you. I hope to think this is good news, and I really hope that all of you come with a little bit of an appetite, either Sunday or Monday. The chamber is going to be with us on Monday evening at 4 o'clock to do the ribbon cutting. And I ask for your support, just not today, but in the future. And as Mr. Benson said, we know there's a lot of people out there without insurance. We're targeting the adult. And I thank you, thank you, thank you, and I look for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita, so much. What an endeavor. I would like to move the reports and committees ahead of the bid awards. I know there's hardworking people in here like Eric Johnson who'd like to get his report done. So if there's...
I'll make a motion to do that.
Okay, Sammy first and then second, to move reports from committees ahead of bid awards. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Carries 5-0. So under reports from committees and departments, Mr. Eric Johnson from CPS Comprehensive Program Services to give us an update on the jail.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see if I can find our... Good morning. We're here to give you a quick update on the progress of the jail project. We got a lot to cover here. We'll try to move through pretty quickly. And we've got some invited guests too. We have Mr. Dave Miller and Barry Rozeski from Nova Environmental Engineering. And they'll be talking on one of the topics here in this presentation. So let's see here. To that, I was getting really kind of confident about this. Did I do it? Okay, there we go. It's a miracle. Jail program. We currently, again, here's or if you want to get any information, pauldingjail.com. The picture you see right there is of the progress thus far, and what you see there is precast being installed. That is Metromont, whose headquarters is here in Hiram, Georgia. They've been a great partner. We'll talk about some other issues with the precast, but they've just been tremendous here, working with Turner Construction and Wakefield Beasley to provide the precast for the entire job, which is wonderful. So, again, we'll get some progress photos. I know you can see it from the camera on top of the courthouse, but here's some closer pictures. These are footings that we're pouring. And you see some utilities, some underground plumbing, more underground plumbing and electrical. That's all proceeding very well. More precast. And we have tried to, from a schedule standpoint, working with Metromont on a lot of this stuff. So you're going to see a lot of this stuff coming up out of the ground pretty quickly. One issue that we're dealing with Metromont early is the aesthetics of the sides of the building that will be facing Memorial and basically Dallas, Georgia. We've created an environment where we kept a lot of the trees to where it's protected now, that side. But I've done this for a long time. A lot of y'all point towards Carroll County's jail project. Way back when, that sucker was so far out, they didn't care what it looked like. They didn't want to spend any money. Well, guess what? It's right in the middle of things today. So hindsight, maybe we should have done something. They didn't want to spend the money, but here we are. So we're taking the step to work with Metromont to put these patterns in that precast that one day can be painted if we so choose, either before we finish completion or afterwards. So we've taken the steps and met with the City of Dallas. Scott Green and Bruce Wolf done a great job with them to get their approval, and the sheriff, I know, went to some meetings to get the City of Dallas to approve aesthetically what this facility looked like. So it is in an ordinance zone design downtown. I'm not sure what the district they call it, but we're in it, and we dealt with the city on that. So more progress photos, as you can see, digging, rock blasting and drilling. And I know, again, we've invited Dave Miller and Barry to talk about the rock drilling and blasting. We'll give you a very in the weeds detailed description of it, and they'll stick around as long as you'd like. After they present, I'll have some more slides to share with you, but if you want to take some time and talk about the rock, we certainly can. And they're two foremost experts on this. Talk about the budget real quick. Again, we're not looking for any approval today. We'll probably come back in November for approval. This is an update, let you know what we're doing. So what's changed on this is we've moved basically $700,000 from the owner's contingency and moved it up into the CM contract. We haven't done that officially, but we're here to report that we'll be requesting at least that. And the $700,000 we're looking at right now is basically for the precast changes we need to make in light of our dealings with the City of Dallas. And the other is for the conformance set of documents, which we always told you about. When we go to a GMP, the construction documents are not 100%, but we have assumptions and clarifications inside that. We do our best to marry things together to where it's a $0 change order, but there are some changes that needed to be made to get to that 100% construction documents, and that's what, there'll be a change order for that as well. So that's what the $700,000. you see below the amount short to fund COR 6, the 818, that will deal with a lot of the rock issues. And we'll get Dave and Barry to talk about that. But right now we had if you recall, the first number we came to you with was $1.5 million. And I also reported at that time that we're looking at different scenarios and moving the buildings. We were talking with the sheriff's office operationally, would it impact them to build on top of the rock? Well, we're here to tell you that that number has come down significantly. The estimate that we're showing now is $595,000. But we're here to report that we think it's going to be a good bit less than that too, based on the results of blasting. But I want to get into that because we have two experts. But that's kind of where we are with the budget thus far. So, the three things that we're talking about, again, unforeseen subsurface conditions, the 595, we feel it's going to be less than that. The precast panel changes, the 290, that is a real number in the conformance documents. As of right now, 632, we think that's a real number. There's two or three. When we come to you next, for the formal change order, we'll go into really two or three items in that conformance documents that we're dealing with. So, anyway, that's change order 6. So, again, we'll talk about all three of these, but first we'll talk about the rock. This is kind of where it started. You can see we've already got 3 credits that have brought it back down to 595. And at this time, I'd like to bring up Dave and Barry to go through these next slides that they helped us prepare so they can better explain to you in the least amount of effort what's going on out there. But again, they'll stick around as long as you need to, they need to answer any questions on this. Yeah. There you go.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for letting us join you today. I'm Dave Miller. I'm a chief engineer of Nova. Barry Brzezinski, my business partner, is in charge of our construction materials group. We're also 2 of the founders of Nova, and we'd like to express our appreciation to Paulding County. You've been a good client and a good friend to us over the years, and we're doing what we can to help mitigate your risk and protect your money. That's one of our goals. So let's talk about rock and what we're finding. There were some large numbers that Eric has alluded to that were put out on the table early on. We've actually gotten onto the site and have done more investigation, both soil test borings and air track associated with the blasting operations. What we're finding is that the rock are outcrops, they're pinnacles. They're not big domes of rock or big sloping surfaces of rock. They're pinnacles or spires of rock that pop up in rather well-defined areas. If you look at the drawing that's in front of you, we found them in 5 areas. We've got, the first 2 we found are the small areas that are over on the west, that are in the building footprint. Those are about 25 by 30 feet, so smaller than the big ones, 35 by 35 feet. These are really rough dimensions. These aren't really squares in the field, obviously. They're odd shaped. The largest one to the left, as we go to the east, is an area that's about 75 feet by 100 feet. Those are the 3 that are in the building. Then we've got 2 more outcrops of rock that are up in the parking areas, one that's to the northeast and one that's to the north. Before I tell you how we've investigated what we see in terms of the top of the rock, the 2 that are in the center of the building have already been drilled, they've been blasted, they're being excavated. The large one that's to the left has also been drilled and shot, so we've had 4 shots within the building. The parking rock that's to the northeast has been drilled. Half of it's been shot. We should shoot the other half of it today. And then they are finishing the area to the north. Hopefully we'll finish drilling today. If it doesn't finish today, it'll be done tomorrow. And then that rock will be shot. So by the end of this week, we should have had all the rock drilled and shot. And hopefully when Eric comes back to you the next time, we'll have a really hard number on the quantity. So one of the things we've done is we've gone out to investigate how did this rock occur? Why was it not in the borings? Well, as you can see, when we finally plot where the rock is, the rock areas plot up between the borings. They don't plot up underneath the borings. There are 29 borings on this site. They're spaced 100 to 150 feet apart. It's a pretty traditional layout of boring locations. This site's just unusual that all the rock seems to be popping up between the borings. Usually you have a boring that at least clips the edge of the rock. This site, it didn't happen. When we got the call from Eric,
Yes.
Eric, help me, how about?
Just rolling.
Other direction. We went back to this large area that's over on the left, near B12, to do some additional borings. This is a blow-up of the area. The boring, you see B12R at the bottom of our new boring. These are supplemental borings. We went back to the same location. We're doing GPS layout, so there's always a little bit of offset. GPS is good to 10 to 15 feet, but we went back and we drilled B12 again, and then set up a grid. And within this grid, there's a large rock outcrop. If you went out on the site last week, you could see the rock on the ground surface. So we included that within the grid. And then we drilled the soil test borings. And you see the proximity of some of these borings to that rock outcrop. The boring that's in the upper right-hand corner, which is boring A04, is 10 feet away from the rock outcrop. That's the driller who's drilling A04. You can see the shiny rock. I don't know if I can help the folks in the audience. That's the rock outcrop. The hole's coming over here 10 to 12 feet away. So we've got rock at the ground surface 10 to 12 feet away. He's drilling down 18 feet before he finds rock. So this isn't a gentle sloping rock surface. This is a cliff of rock. We see the same thing over as we go to the west. The next boring to the west is A05, which is about 25 feet away. Again, if you're looking at the photo, A05 would be right about over here, 20 to 25 feet away from that rock outcrop, and we go down 17 feet before we get rock. We see the same thing as we move to the south, which is off the screen. We go down, we move over 25 feet or so, and we drill down and we hit rock at 20 feet. So it looks like a pinnacle or a mesa of rock that comes up. It's not a contiguous dome of rock, which makes it hard to figure out where you can put your borings and how can you hit them all. If I'm standing on rock here and Commissioner Crow has got rock underneath him that's 20 feet in the ground surface, and I put a boring there, it says it's okay to put a boring here, I'm on top of rock. So it becomes very complicated and complex on this site. Subsequently, we've come out to do air track borings. Let me make a quick note. This concept of a pinnacle or a knoll of rock has occurred in this area of Paulding County before. This is a photo from 2007 when this complex was being constructed. There was a detention pond that was constructed over to the east. And in the southern end of the detention pond, there was a rock outcrop that was encountered. And you can see it looks similar to what I've described. It's got very sharp edges that drop off quickly. It's got an irregular surface to it. We think this type of rock outcrop is what we're finding underneath the current jail site, both in the building and in the parking area. So we come out to air track. Air track's being done with a rotary percussion drill. This is a large track, air track, which is a smart track 40. Many of you have seen these on the sides of the highway when they're drilling for roadways. They spin a drill bit down under with percussion with air, and when it hits something hard, it starts to bang on it, just like a jackhammer does. So you spin it down to blow the soil up, and if you look, you can see little brown mounds of soil where it's blowing the soil out. Then it gets into rock, and it starts doing a jackhammer to take the rock out and put a hole down in so you can set your charges. The question is, where's that top of rock? Where do you call it if you get into rock below the ground surface? We've got an engineer no engineer is standing on the drill rig with the subcontract driller. And every day they agree at this hole we hit rock 5 feet down in the ground. We both agree on it. So we don't have an instance at the end of the job where Nova says the rock's down 12 feet and the driller says it's down 2 feet. No, we agree on it every day on every hole as it's done. The surveyors are coming out to the job site and telling us at this elevation, you're at this particular case, you're at elevation 1008. Your subgrade's at elevation 1000. We want the site blasted down to 995. So the driller and the contractor know I've got to blast down at least 13 feet. Now, why do we pick 5 feet below subgrade? That's so we can get the foundations and the utilities in. It's not just taking it down to the subgrade. Because if you take it down to the subgrade, you still have to dig a hole in rock to put in foundations. So it's much faster and less expensive to use mass blasting to get that rock out than to do individual blasts at footing locations. I've put some of the data up, which will again reinforce the variability in the rock. I know it's hard for you in the audience to read it. Hopefully it's easier for you to read on the screen. If you look at, say, the top line, which is B1, that's just the point. That's not a column location. This is the driller and Nova have come up with their own grid. And these grids, the borings or the drill holes are spaced 5 to 6 feet, 5 to 7 feet apart. We have boring B1, and if you look, you can see that you hit rock right around 955. You're not going to have much rock above the elevation. If you look at, go down to the table and look 2/3 of the way down at C1, you can see that you're at rock at 1,006. There's 11 feet of rock difference, 6 feet away in a borehole, in an air track. Again, it's just like what we saw in soil test borings. Rock may be 10 feet here, it could be 20 feet right there. You'll see it, the same thing at the bottom of the table too. Again, these are going down a grid point where you compare, say, C1, C2, C3, C4. 1 through 3 look like they're a plateau. They're all at the same level. Then you move over 6 feet, 5 or 6 feet to get to C4, and it drops off the edge of the cliff again. So this is the type of rock profile we have. It's not a dome. It's not sloping. It's lots of peaks and spikes. We took all of the data from this one area. This is just one area, and have plotted up as a 3D profile. If you remember that large rectangle over on the east side of the site, B12s to the south, the 11s to the west. We've plotted it up, we've taken all the air track data, and we've color coded it. The color codes where it is in red is where you have rock above subgrade. It's rock above elevation 1,000. The areas that are in yellow are where rock exists above elevation 995. So they're blasting the yellow and the red areas. And then the green areas are just where rock is below 995. It may be at 992, it might be at 987, it may be at 975. It's just below the depth of blasting. But if you, and we've also plotted up the rock outcrop, which if you look at how the rock falls off, it looks very much like what we saw and drew our conclusions from with the soil test borings, that the rock is a little plateau and it drops off. You've got valleys, you've got spikes. This is the same area, but what we've done is we've walked around 180 degrees, and now we're at the northeast corner, looking back southwest, just so you can see the other side of that ridge of rock. Again, it looks similar. You see lots of spikes, you see a valley that runs through the center, and then it drops off to the edges. We've seen the same things in the other air track areas that we're drilling and blasting. You see these spikes, and you move over 5 or 10 feet, it's dropping 5, 10 feet as it goes down. So it's a very irregular rock surface. It's both good and bad. It's bad that you have rock at all. It's sort of good because it's irregular and there's less rock to be encountered. We are, in terms of where we are in the blasting operation, they have drilled all 4 of the first areas. The only area that's left is the northern, scroll back, the northernmost area in the parking up near A4, A5. That is between 50 and 60% drilled as of yesterday. Should finish drilling today. If it runs over, it'll be tomorrow. There's 1 blast left in the second parking area and 1 to 2 blasts left in that area. So in a nutshell, we've had 5 blasts. By the end of the day, we should be at blast number 6. And by tomorrow, we should be at blast number 7, which should wrap up the blasting on the site. The numbers we're calculating, we still have to do our final internal QA, and we always want to sit down with the blasting subcontractor at the end and make sure his numbers match our numbers. And we're signing off on what the top of rock is, the ground surface is, and the blast elevation is. You always like to compare your math. That still has to be done. But the numbers we're generating are going to be less than the number that's being carried in the budget. So when Eric says he thinks it's going to be less, I would concur with him. I think when you come back in here, you'll see a smaller number. Questions?
I'd just like to say thank you for the detail on that. Is this information available on buildingdetail.com?
It's not right now, but it will be.
Yeah, I know I've heard a lot of feedback about the rock situation at the project, and if this information is available online, I think it'll be helpful to a lot of people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Dave. A lot of information there, so thanks for bearing with us. And again, the reason NOVA is out there, two things. First, when we do soil borings, if we happen to catch rock, that's just a plus. That's not the reason we do soil borings. Soil borings are to get the bearing capacity of the soil for the structural engineer. So you saw where the soil borings are. Those are, we have structural specs, and the structural engineer actually lays out where they want those borings, and that's why we go out there. Fortunately, sometimes we catch it, sometimes we don't. When we do catch it, then we'll usually call back in and say we need to do more borings in this area to see if we can find more rock or the severity of it. So, and the second thing is, the reason NOVA's out there this long, obviously, is, I'll just lay it out this way, is their reputation. I know it's been a question, but as you can see, they're out there very diligently. And the second reason they're out there is because we've asked them to make sure that whatever the best way to deal with this rock, the most expeditiously and from a cost standpoint is done, and you don't pay a penny more than you should to remediate this rock in the story. That's why NOVA's here. We've got the two heads of NOVA here, and they're engaged. And so we appreciate you guys coming out. And again, we'll make any of this information available on paulingjail.com for sure. The other two issues that we talked about, changes of the precast panels. We've kind of talked about that in detail, but there is the detail on it and where it is. And the second thing is the conformance documents. And as you can see, there's two big issues. One is plumbing, and the other is earthwork and utilities. When we realized that some of this precast needed to look a little bit better than it did. Okay, and so that change right there is in response to that long-term goal that this looks pretty nice from the city of Dallas. I think it was the right thing to do. So that's what that issue is right there. So everything else went really, really well. Turner worked well with us. Got a lot of their stuff from there. Had a lot of holes in their GMP and took a lot of the costs in these conformance documents out of what they have is their construction contingency, which is inside their GMP. So Turner worked really well with us in Wakefield Beasley. Keep this number to a minimum. So, again, this is a lot of detail on how we went through all the conformance documents. Thought you might want to have it for your reading pleasure one evening. Burn pit. So we talked about this. We have relocated it out of the burn pit, and we'll update you more if there's any impact. There's no impact to the schedule. And cost, we don't believe so either. But anyway, we just want to let you know we've coordinated that with the sheriff's office on where the right place to put it from this point. So again, construction progress update. I showed you some pictures. The underground mechanical, electrical, and plumbing is still underway. The foundations are underway. And precast panels, you see them going up, and that is all on schedule. So saw a bunch of double T's coming in as I was driving up too. So things are moving. You'll see things coming up. Once we get out of the ground, you'll see things coming up very, very quickly. Schedule up critical path, blasting obviously, infill removed rock, foundations should be finished up mid-December. And structure, again, all precast hopefully will be done by February of next year. Still looking at final completion April of 2020. But again, we continue to work with Turner on the schedule, and we'll have a schedule update for you as well, with a copy of the schedule for our next meeting too. So, here's an elevation. That will actually be brick. That hasn't changed. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions. Again, we're not looking for any approval today. Just trying to give you an update of where things stand.
Any questions?
So Eric, the cost of the rock's not going to be what we thought it was going to be originally. It's going to be a little bit less, right?
Yes.
And then I understand that one of the reasons for that is because we were actually being able to put the rock on our own property and not having to haul it off.
Yes, sir. Two things. One, and I've alluded to this before when we talked about the training center. The training center actually is on a dome. That's why we didn't blast there. But out in the firing range, it was spired, so we did knock those off. This is all spires instead of a dome, so the mass rock is going to be less. And when we do blast it, it is able to be mitigated on site. Yes, sir.
I want to ask a question. We've got a long way to go, so I know about the on time. The under budget does concern me.
Yes, sir.
And we're taking some steps to make sure that's taken care of too. Just want to make sure at the end of the day that Paulding County citizens get the jail that they need to have. It's going to last us a long time, so I guess what I'm saying, Gary, is I want to make sure we're not having any kind of shortcuts anywhere to make up any differences.
Not yet.
If we
Just
need
kidding.
to know
No, sir.
today,
I was just kidding, Sheriff.
we need to know today something.
There's
It's
been
going
no
to go
precedent
on
program.
6 months from now when I'm not sitting here, or a year from now when I'm not sitting here. I just want to make sure that the public knows what's going on, and that Paulding County gets the jail that we need to have. So, you know what I mean.
Yes, sir, we do. There has been absolutely no discussion in cut-up program from what was involved in the GMP. Not to my knowledge, I believe I got a call from the sheriff or Chief Deputy Hunting if that was brought up to the table.
And I'm not really, I'm not putting Gary or Mr. Hutton on the spot. I'm not really looking at them for that answer. I'm really looking at you
Yes, sir.
for that answer.
And I'm not ready to answer it yet. I'll be back in November, but to today,
Okay.
and I don't anticipate going back to the sheriff and cutting this program
Okay.
from what is in the GMP.
And if there's something that we see, or you see, or the sheriff sees on the horizon, I want to know about it in the next 60 days before I leave office.
Yes, sir. You have my commitment.
I don't want something coming out that was said that we didn't know, or said that we knew and it didn't come out in public. I want it out here in public before I leave. We got 2 more meetings.
Yes, sir. I think the sheriff and I have been consistent on the message that the news is the news. You're going to get it to the best of my knowledge. And if something changes, we will let you know.
Okay. Sounds great. Keep that website going.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
We're going to stick with reports from departments and bring up Ms. Lori Ashmore, Water Systems Director, for a water extension update.
Good morning.
Good morning.
21 months ago, we brought to this board a policy for water line extensions. We were dealing with numerous old petitions that were in a 3-ring binder that dated back 30 years ago. And so we were looking to how do we address water line extensions, recognizing that we still have a number of roads in Paulding County that don't have water service. Just in general terms, the policy says it needs to be economically feasible in accordance with state and local requirements, located on right-of-way, that the property owners are responsible for petitioning for that extension. The big one is that we require that the property owners have a commitment of 70% of the owners committing to establish and maintain water service. And then we review cost and liability of the project. So at this point, we have completed 2 water line extensions, Pine Ridge Lane and Overlook Trail, and we have 2 petitions that we are currently working with and moving forward. Just very briefly wanted to give you a construction cost update on those. The 2 that are completed, Pine Ridge Lane and Overlook Trail, we extended about 12,000 feet of water line and at a total cost of about $1.4 million. We have 40 new customer connections as a result of it. And we have completed that. We estimated going into this project, we've been estimating based on $90 a foot. You'll see that Pine Ridge Lane came in under that, Overlook Trail in excess of that. That reflects the differing rock conditions along those 2 extensions. We have expended our funding for fiscal year 17 and fiscal year 18 on those 2 projects. The 2 additional extensions that we have had petitioned are Mount Moriah Road and Buchanan Highway. We are projected, and Buchanan Highway is a new one. We have not, I don't think I have discussed that one with any of you at this point, but we have, it's about $810,000 to extend water on Mount Moriah, about 9,000 feet of water line. To be able to accomplish that, it would take the entire fiscal year 19 funding and a significant portion of the fiscal year 20 funding. And then Buchanan Highway behind that would be 7,000 feet, serving another 23 customers, and that would be fiscal year 20 remaining funds and fiscal year 21 to accomplish that project. We are, and right now we're carrying those at $90 a foot. But wanted to, Mount Moriah Road, we have surveyed that line, and that next step would be a detailed design. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Laura, do you have the petition 70% for both of those?
Yes. We actually do not add anything to our lists at this point without that 70%. Buchanan Highway actually brought in a petition on their own forms, and we sent them back to make sure that people realized that in petitioning what they were committing to.
Any other questions?
Laura, let me tell you, thank you for what you've done and for working with me in Post 4 on this. I was not aware of Buchanan Highway. I'm glad to see that. Mount Moriah Road, I'm glad to give an update on that, and that will be moving along. You're telling me at this time, until we get next year's funds, we're going to be held off on Mount Moriah?
We would not be bidding that until late in the fiscal year, yes. Because we need next fiscal year's funding to even be able to complete that project.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to back up now and pick up bid awards. Ms. Tabitha Pollard's bid awards today. Number 1 is discuss action to enter into a construction manager at risk contract with Brassfield and Gorey for the Richland Creek Reservoir Park. Ms. Pollard.
Good morning. There are quite a few bid awards, so I'm going to read you a lot today, just because I missed something if I don't. So a few weeks ago, we solicited proposals for the Reservoir Park, and Corey Engineering as well as Michael Justice are here to discuss any of those specifics. After scoring of the firms, Brassfield and Gorey was the clear-cut choice from, I think it was unanimous that they be brought on board. So they conducted an interview last week, and I think it remained unanimous that Brasco Board was the correct firm to complete this process. What they're asking for today is a CMARF contract to be awarded, and they will work with Croy Engineering and we brought up today on the design. They will work to value engineer and reduce cost as much as possible, bid the project, and bring back a GMP for your approval. And as I understand, that would come back probably later this year. I think they want to start as quickly as possible to complete the entrance road, the boat ramp, and the boat docks, because they must be in place for the rest of before the end of 2019. And this entire park will be 209 acres. It will be phased in, so they will do the entrance road, the pieces that have to be completed now will be done in phase 1, and then you'll find out in GMP what will be done in phase 2 or thereafter. So if you have any questions, again, Eddie Wade is here with Croy Engineering, as well as Michael Justice. And Laurie, we have quite a few benefits of this project.
Any questions? I don't really have any questions, but I do appreciate the process there. You three there sitting there, as well as the rest of the committee. Excited to see this go and be done well, as we discussed previously.
And we also have a representative from Brasco Board as well. I left that one, I'm sorry.
Excited about that. It'll be a great park. Bid award number.
I just said thank you.
Bid award number 2 is discuss action to award the 2019 line striping 1 project to the low bidder of Mid-South Striping in the amount of $90,898.40. Ms. Paul.
This is a routine item each year. We bring to you a paving contract, and then we also bring back a striping contract. This will stripe 24 miles of roadway. We received 4 bids, and we're recommending award to the low bidder, Mid-State Striping. DOT did work hard to get some competitiveness in this project, and they were very successful. It is available for questions.
I will ask a question, George. The backup material says this bid is significantly lower than what our estimate was. Just maybe not in detail of why, but are we confident in the work and the job to be done at this price?
Yes, I am. We've used Midstate before in the past, had very good results, very good communication. Line striping over the last few years has gone up tremendously. It's very volatile. There's very few contractors in the metro area that do this. Midstate's out of Perry, Georgia, so in middle Georgia, that come up here and do the work. The one major contractor that is in this area, they don't really have a lot of competition, so their prices sometimes are a little bit higher, and that's what happened. We had bid this project out in January of this year, and when the numbers came back, it was way over our estimate. So we kicked it out and decided to look at ways to possibly reduce the cost. One of the ways we're able to do that is actually give it a longer timeline. You move up the timeline, jacks up prices. You give a longer timeline, you get a better price. In this case, I'm comfortable with the price, the contractor, and the timeline.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bid award number 3 is discuss action to award the Saddlebrook Farm drainage contract to the low bidder Tucker Grading and Hauling in the amount of $138,577.55. Ms. Pollard.
Okay, again, this is a DOT project. This work consists of installing French drains along various sections of Saddlebrook Drive and curb and gutter and sidewalk repair as needed. We did have 2 participants, and we are recommending award to the low bidder, Tucker Grading and Hauling. In the amount of $138,577.
Any questions or comments? Bid award number 4 is discuss action to award the Justice Center Drive project to the low bidder Bartow Paving in the amount of $708,643.82. Ms. Polly.
This DOT project has also been talked about for some time, especially with the jail. And this roadway will extend from West Memorial Drive to the Watson Government Complex. And we are recommending award. We had four participants in this process as well. And we're recommending award to the low bid. Project paving in the amount of $708,643.82.
Mr. Jones, when would they start that, you know?
I think once, we sign the NTP and the contracts, we're within the next month and a half or so, I believe, we're ready to go. This is a 9-month project timeline on this. The length of roadway is 0.17 miles. We're building a standard 22-foot road with curb and guide and sidewalk deal. So, yeah, we're ready to go. And this is a SWAS-funded project.
Just curious, do you think people will cut through from Memorial over to 278?
Heaven forbid. No, some people are going to use, yes, people are going to use it. I think it'll be a good roadway. It'll be a good design roadway. This type of road is meant to accommodate vehicles. It's designed for that. I think it's going to be a good addition.
Other questions? Bid award number 5 is discuss action to award the Raccoon Creek Bridge project to the lowest responsible bidder, Southeastern Site Development, in the amount of $1,379,454.
This bid is a little bit above my knowledge of DOT projects, so I'm going to just tell you about the bid process. We did have 4 contractors participate in the bid, and we are recommending award to Southeastern Site Development in the low bid amount of $1,379,454. And without questions, I'm going to ask George to give you a little more detail about the project.
Yeah, again, we had brought this before to y'all back on June 26th, where we accepted some funding from the Nature Conservancy and the Fish and Wildlife Service in the amount of $150,000. We asked you to sign an agreement for that, and we did. I've got some good news. In the meantime, we've actually added on an additional amount of funding, so now we're up to $325,000 from the Nature Conservancy and the Fish and Wildlife to go towards replacing this structure. So that's obviously a good thing. Out there, the existing structure was constructed in 1981. It's 37 years old. It's spalling in some places, needs some work. Under normal conditions, the water actually flows underneath the bottom of the culvert. It doesn't flow through the culvert. So obviously, it's not a good thing for fish passage, especially for endangered species like the Cherokee darter and Catawba darter. So then that is why Fish and Wildlife and the Nature Conservancy have contributed towards this project, because they have an interest in improving conditions for fish passage. The project itself is 0.11 miles of road and bridge. The roadway itself is going to be 10-foot lanes with 9-foot 6-inch shoulders, and the bridge width itself is 36 feet 5 inches wide. The numbers were a little higher than our internal estimate. However, we brought back to our design consultant, and they looked over the numbers, and they felt this was a reasonable bid to pursue forward with Southeastern Engineering. So we have a 9-month completion date from the NTP on this project also. It's a post 4, and I can answer any other questions if you have any, I hope.
We've been talking about this for a while.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good to hear about that.
Again, on this one, I think we're ready to go as soon as we get the contract documents signed, seal delivery. It's a good one.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Bid award number 6, discuss action to purchase a live fire shoot house from Total Range Solutions in the amount of $460,000. Ms. Pollard, accompanied by Colonel Hutton.
Again, while this one has some interest to it maybe, I'm not going to go into the details of it. The sheriff has requested to purchase a live fire shoot house. They have solicited several and evaluated several different systems. So this will actually be equipment. And they have determined that they would like to proceed with the hinged system, and the cost is $160,000. So with that, you'll get the benefits of your live fire shoot house.
Yes, ma'am. We currently do have a live fire shoot house that is at the old training facility out by the landfill. We built that, I want to say in 2001, maybe 2002, with inmate labor and unwanted and discarded tires and crushing run. And it has served us well. It's done very well for us. It is at its end of its life, and the folks of Seven Hills want us out of there. So with our new training facility, we discussed it in many different ways of potentially trying to build our own shoot house again. But with technology and the advancement in the industry, and for safety reasons, we think this is one of our best options. We had a team of folks. I had 2 captains and a sergeant that went around to different facilities in the state, looking at different shoot houses, different companies, things of that nature, to get ideas and see where we wanted to go with this. And we came in contact with TRS, and there's not one in the state of Georgia. However, we were able to talk to other agencies outside the state of Georgia that have this system. And the hinge pin system, what it allows us to do, it allows us to change the floor plan of the shoot house within minutes, which will serve us for years and years down the road. One of the problems that we have with the shoot house that we currently use, obviously being built out of tires and crush and run, we can't move the walls. And we do have places in that, I mean, it's you know, we built it with inmate labor and us. It has areas in it that we cannot. Basically, there are no shoot zones and things of that nature. So the instructors have to be very highly on alert to make sure that, you know, nobody's shooting in that direction. There's no targets in that direction, things of that nature. With this, we'll have 360-degree coverage, except for the doorways, obviously. But with this hinge pin system, again, we can change the floor plan multiple ways. We're still in the planning phase of working with the company to get what we want. They gave us the max price on it, and that's when I asked Ms. Tapper if we could try to move forward. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to try to get somebody local to do the concrete work for us instead of them coming in and doing the concrete. We want have somebody do the grading and the concrete for us. And then also, instead of using their roofing system, we're going to try to do that locally and have somebody here put the roof over for us, which will just help protect and preserve the shoot house in itself. So.
Basically, the cost of the system we're talking about is $460,000, and then the rest of it, the concrete things you're looking at.
That is everything.
That's everything?
Yes, sir. The actual cost for the house is $390,000.
Okay.
The gentleman told me he would not exceed $390,000.
Okay.
Based on some rough estimates that we got. We don't have 100% quotes just yet. Talking with Ms. Tapper and the rough estimates that we had, I'm very confident that we're going to come under this 460.
Because in the backup, it just says another $100,000, I guess, on concrete, the pole barn, is that correct? Or am I misreading it, Tabitha? I might be misreading
It
it.
would actually be about 70,000 is the rough estimate.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Not to exceed the 460.
Okay, total.
Yes, sir. And it being obviously it's a SPLOST project, we don't have this budgeted, so.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Under public participation on agenda items, we have no one. Under the consent agenda, discuss action on one consent agenda item. Pull that page off of my the consent agenda. Action to authorize the chairman to approve a light services agreement prepayment cost to Georgia Power Company in the estimated amount of $152,366 for street light installation on Justice Center Drive. Mr. Jones. Okay. Would any of the Post Commissioners like to move that to the regular business?
No, sir.
Good to go. Under old business, we have none. Under new business, number 1 is discuss action to adopt amendments to the fund balance policy. Ms. Pollard's ready to go.
Okay, in 2011, I believe, is when we amended the fund balance policy due to several executive requirements that place categories within fund balance. So fund balance has non-spendable amount, it has a restricted amount, has committed fund balance, and it has an assigned fund balance, as well as an unassigned fund balance. And non-spendable obviously is something that there's no monetary, there's value to it, but you can't spend it. Restricted is what's restricted by external parties. Committed is what you actually commit, and it takes an action of the board to commit it, and that takes an action of the board to decommit. You have an assigned fund balance, which is basically where county manager or myself could go through and say, this is an assignment. An example of an assignment would be next year's budget amount. So if you actually approve next year's budget amount, we're going to assign a portion of fund balance that you approve to cover that. And if there are any other expenditures that we're aware of, we can place an assignment on them, and on financial statements it lists that assignment. And then you have your unassigned. What this amendment does is it puts more language in the commitment. So it basically, when the board decides to go and construct a capital project and issue bonds or issue loans, it will commit 5% of that proceed amount. So what was deposited into the construction account, it will commit 5% of that, of the fund balance, and that will stay committed until the project's complete. And when the project's complete, then it will again move to the unassigned fund balance. It doesn't authorize expenditure. It doesn't, it just commits some amount, like I said, the 5% of the proceeds amount until the project is complete. And at this time, it would be moving it from unassigned up to a committed.
I'd just like to say thank you, Tabitha, and thank you, Lonnie, for your work on this, and I appreciate it. It will make me sleep better. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Any other comments? New business number 2 is discuss action to amend the contract awarded to Parker FiberNet in the amount of $287,677 to provide additional filter services along Charles Hardy Parkway and provide for a utility shed at the landfill. Mr. Lyons, you want to come help us out with this one?
I'm going to start with this one, and then in June, you awarded a contract to Parker to install some fiber throughout the county, and it was circled around by the landfill, and there were several benefits for that project, and it was roughly $500,000. This is an expansion of that project. So this will, will explain, but it goes, Macklin Road is included as well as Charles Hardy, and the benefit, the 2 departments that will benefit are 911 and the water system from this specifically, and it will also expand our fiber network, as well as approve the construction of a utility shed at the landfill, should that be needed. And it comes at a cost of $287,677. It's basically an expansion of that project that you awarded in June.
Good morning. If I could elaborate on that, this agenda item. What we're trying to do is just take advantage of the pricing per foot that Parker provided us back in May. There were 3 bids that we opened up in May, the highest being over $1 million, and the Parker bid being $534,000. The closest bid to that was $733,000, so quite a bit of difference. So what we hope to do, what we're asking for approval for, is to extend the fiber network from Macklin Road, which has a public safety tower on it at this time, down to the new community, or the customer service center on Business 6. The water system uses our phone system now, and part of our RP system, we also want to provide security to that building. We can do that with a fiber optic network. We'll then take that down to the Silver Common Trail and connect it into our existing wire, which will bring it back here. All told, this will help close the gap in between the 2 links, which will ultimately provide the resilient link in a closed network. The utility shed itself, we are negotiating for space within an existing facility. Mr. Green and Mr. Leonard are helping us with that right now. But if we are unable to acquire the space we need, we'll put in a utility shed on that property to terminate our fiber. Any other questions?
Thank you.
That is the conclusion of our regular business. We have a need for executive session for real estate personnel pending potential litigation. See that there is no one who signed up for public participation on non-agenda items. So with that in mind, I'll entertain a motion to go into the executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for real estate personnel, potential and pending litigation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Pownell, for a second. Second by Commissioner Collette. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We're headed for executive session. We have completed the executive session, and we will call the regular work session back to order. There some attention to a couple of items, which we'll present now.
Okay, I have two motions to make. First motion is to add Resolution 1851 to the agenda, supporting the Paulding Industrial Building Authority and the Paulding County Airport Authority's land transaction for the new aviation academy at the Paulding Northwest Atlanta Airport. I make a motion that we add that to the business meeting agenda.
You have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a copy of this agenda for anyone in the room who cares to see it. I'll just leave it right over here next to the flag.
No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Is there any other business we'd like to discuss?
Also, would like to make a motion to add Resolution 1852 to the business meeting agenda, rescinding approval of the property exchange between Paulding County, Georgia, and Nature Walk Development Company, Incorporated.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Pownell. Is there any discussion?
I also have a copy of this resolution that I'll set next to the flag.
Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That also carries 5-0. Now I'll entertain a motion to...
I'll make a motion that we return to executive session for personnel.
A motion, return to executive session for personnel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Crowe.
The only discussion is, what are we going to do when they walk in for planning and zoning? Are we going to finish up?
I want to finish up before we come out here. We're going to make this as quick as we can.
All right.
Because I have commitments after the
Let's
planning
go.
meeting.
Okay, we'll go to executive session at this time. Why don't we vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries 5-0. Return to executive session. We'll call the work session back to order and report that no action was taken in the executive session number 2. I'll entertain a motion at this time to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Commissioner Pownell, second by Commissioner Collette. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Carries 5 over adjourned.